I suppose in psychology quite often we look at problems in this sort of quite complex model, and it's called the biopsychosocial model. And it will look at biological aspects, psychological aspects and social aspects. And I think that really is a useful way to think about addiction. Biologically, drugs are addictive, and I mean all drugs. You know, your morning cup of coffee, the glass of wine at the end of the day, and the injecting heroin user. They will have an impact on you biologically, and the brain doesn't distinguish between legal and illegal drugs. It never has, and it never will really. So I think from that sense, as a psychologist, you can't distinguish between legal and illegal. What you look at is the reasons that someone is using a drug. So that would be the psychological aspect of the model. There are many different theories about why people use and abuse drugs. I mean, theories of attachment and problems in the relationship with the primary caregiver in childhood, and drugs becoming a sort of an artificial object that people become attached to, is one. A self-medication hypothesis that people use drugs to treat themselves for psychological deficiencies, so to speak. So alcohol and anxiety is a classic example. You feel anxious when you're at a party and you have a drink to kind of relax you a little bit. So psychologically, again, you can't really distinguish between different drugs. In that sense, it's about medicating oneself. I suppose psychologically there is an element of excitement around illicit drugs that maybe doesn't exist around legal ones. I know that a lot of people I work with talk about being fearful of the straight life, so this sort of quite boring, drug-free, crime-free potentially world. And then there's the bio-psycho and then the social aspect. So that will be someone's social environment, maybe the modelling that they experience of whether drugs are good or bad, if their friendship circle is made up of people who use drugs. But also I think the social aspect of a lot of people who come, we know from research that people who come from economically deprived areas are more likely to use drugs and find them addictive. Studies with monkeys have shown that monkeys who are lower down the social sort of hierarchy are more likely to abuse cocaine. So there's something about, you know, your social status in society that predisposes you to finding drugs addictive, and you know, the abuse potential increases there. So I think to simply classify it by what's legal and what's illegal, it is far too simplistic, because we have so many levels that this is working on.